Okay, so on this slide, we are asked to find the y-intercept. So on this first one, it's already graphed for us, so we don't have to do any extra graphing. So I'm just going to look. Either you can go down the y-axis until the blue line crosses, or you can follow the blue line until it crosses the y-axis. Either way is your choice, whatever you prefer. But I noticed that it crosses here between the -6 and the -8, which means that our y-intercept is -7. So as a point, we would write that as 0, -7. So that's our y-intercept for the first one. For the second one, we have to graph it first. So again, make your table, x values of which you choose. On this one, I'm going to choose -1, 0, and 1. Again, these are just values that you're choosing. They can be any x values, preferably what is already on your graph and not making it to where you have to stretch your graph or something. The middle column is where we're using the substitution property, and then our last column is our y value. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in -4 times -1 plus 3. And this one, remember that if the coefficient, the number in front, and our variable are touching, that's multiplication. And so I have -4 times -1, which is 4, plus 3, which is 7. And then we're going to plug in 0, so -4 times 0 plus 3. So -4 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. And then we're going to plug in 1, so -4 times 1 plus 3. So -4 times 1 is -4, plus 3 is -1. And so I have the following 3 points: -1, 7, 0, 3, and 1, -1. And oops, I don't know why I wrote -3, -1. And again, I'm getting these points just from my x, y columns. X, y, x, y, x, y. From there, we're going to graph it. So -1, 7, and 0, 3, and then 1, -1. And then we draw our line through, making sure that there's arrowheads at the end. And now we have graphed the equation y equals -4x plus 3. From here, it asks us to find the y-intercept. Remember, if we're making a table, we can find it in 3 places. On the graph, right, at 3, because that's where it crosses the y-axis, I can look at our points where x is 0, or I can look at the table where x is 0, and I can see that when x is 0, y is 3. So our y-intercept for this one, y-intercept is 3, and so that would be the point 0, 3. All right, so again, table to help us graph. I would do 3 points each time, 1 negative, 1 positive, and the 0 in between. And the reason I would do 3 is on Math Excel you need at least 2, and then you can use the third point to double check and make sure that you did graph your line correctly, because your third point would show up on that line in Math Excel, and so that's a way you can double check yourself. All right. Last example, here we have a situation, models temperature on a certain winter day since sunrise. So what that means, so these are x is hours after sunrise, so 0 would be sunrise. So things to just think about as you go along, and our temperature is in degrees Celsius. So it asks, what is the y-intercept of the line? So the y-intercept is where we cross the y-axis. So that's happening right here. So the y-intercept of the line is 4, or 0, 4, however Math Excel asks for it. Now, what does the y-intercept represent? And it represents the temperature at sunrise. That's what it's representing. So in this case, that's 4 degrees Celsius at sunrise. And now it's asking, what is the slope? So we have 1 point at 0, 4. We just need a second point. So I like to follow my blue line until I cross at 4 corners, which happens right here. Remember, we want it crossing at whole numbers, even though all of these are correct answers, and not very easily, but they can help us find the slope using decimals and fractions and estimation, of which none of which is ideal. We want to go with whole numbers where we're not guessing. So I'm going to do rise over run. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 over 1. So our slope being 4 over 1 is 4. Now what does that slope represent? Well, it represents the increase in temperature each hour. That's what the slope represents. So in this case, that's an increase of 4 degrees Celsius each hour. And so that's what it is. I mean, there's not much more than that. So things to remember, Y-intercept can be written so as two things, either just the number itself or as the 0.0, 4. So make sure that you read the blue. Make sure you read the blue lines underneath when your answer box in Math Excel. And then slope we've been working with for the last month. So again, that's rise over run, or y minus y over x minus x. So use the table to help you graph at the moment, and then we'll get into an easier way to graph soon enough. So until next time, guys.